Welcome back, everyone. Last time we really got into the weeds on monitoring and observability.
Yeah, we looked at some key tools, right? Like Monte Carlo, Big Eye, Datadog, stuff that helps you keep those complex data systems actually running.
Exactly, seeing what's going on, spotting trouble early. Well, today we're going to shift gears a little
Oh yeah, how so?
from seeing what's happening to, well, reacting to it instantly. We're talking data streaming.
Ah, okay. Real-time stuff.
Precisely. Think of it like a continuous flow, Data just zipping from its source straight to where it needs to go in real time.
So none of this waiting around, collecting big batches, and then processing later?
Nope. It's about handling data the moment it's born, getting those immediate insights, making immediate reactions, less like a big, slow reservoir, more like a fast-flowing river.
Gotcha. Constant movement.
Right. Actually, that reminds me, why did the data stream break up with the database?
Uh-oh. Why?
It said, I need more real-time commitment, not just a historical record.
Huh. Okay. That's pretty good.
Glad you liked it. And speaking of commitment, especially to staying ahead in tech, got to give a quick shout out to our friends at DevTechie.
Oh yeah, good call.
You can find loads more great resources over at devtechie.com. They really help you get your head around all this complex stuff.
Definitely worth checking out.
So our mission today, it's not just to define data streaming, but to really dig into the strategy. How do you pick the right platform for your specific situation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, so let's unpack this. Why has data streaming become, well, so essential? What are businesses actually doing with it?
Well, it's fundamentally changed how businesses operate. It's about being proactive, not reactive. Think about uh, real-time fraud detection.
Right, like getting an alert the second something weird happens.
Exactly. A credit card company sees a card used in London, and then 5 minutes later in Tokyo, bang, instant flag. Or a bank spots a huge ATM withdrawal that's totally out of character for a customer. Streaming makes that immediate reaction possible.
Solves the problem before it gets worse.
Precisely. Then you've got the whole Internet of Things, IoT and sensor data world.
Oh, yeah, that's huge now.
Massive. Factories use sensors on machines to predict failures before they happen. Think about the downtime that saves. Or logistics companies tracking trucks in real time, rerouting them based on live traffic. It's all about efficiency.
Avoiding costly delays.
And cybersecurity. SIEM systems, security information, and event management. They're constantly correlating events from everywhere, looking for attack patterns as they emerge. Streaming lets them trigger automated defenses in seconds.
Wow, okay. What else?
Well, think about customer experience. Personalization.
Like when a website suggests something I might actually want.
Exactly. E-commerce sites giving you instant recommendations based on what you're browsing right now, or Netflix suggesting a perfect next show the second you finish one. That seamless experience, that streaming working behind the scenes.
Keeps you engaged.
Totally. And even things like real-time analytics. Retailers monitoring sales during, say, Black Friday, making stock decisions on the fly. Social media companies tracking how a new feature is being used, literally minute by minute.
So it really boils down to speed, doesn't it? Getting insights and acting on them immediately gives you a huge competitive advantage.
That's the core of it. Leveraging data at the speed the business operates, not looking in the rearview mirror.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you can do all these amazing things with streaming, what are the actual tools, the platforms that make it happen? It sounds like there must be a ton of options.
Oh, there are. The landscape can definitely feel a bit overwhelming at first, but we can sort of group them into three main buckets.
Okay, buckets are good. What's the first one?
First up, you've got the open source heavyweights. These are foundational projects, things like Apache Kafka, Apache Flink, Apache Spark streaming.
Heard of those. Kafka, especially.
Right. They're incredibly powerful, super flexible, and usually have huge communities supporting them. The big thing here, you get total control.
But there's always a but.
But you also take on all the operational responsibility. Setting it up, managing it, scaling it, fixing it when it breaks, that's all on your team.
Right. The control versus effort. Okay, what's bucket number two?
Managed cloud services. Think Amazon Kinesis, Google Cloud Data Flow, Azure Stream Analytics. The big cloud providers basically offer managed versions of, or alternatives to, those open source tools.
So they handle the trippy infrastructure parts.
Exactly. They simplify setup, management, scaling.
Yeah.
A lot of the operational headache just goes away. You focus more on using it, less on running it.
Sounds appealing. And the third bucket?
That would be enterprise and specialized platforms. Companies like Confluent, Snowflake, Databricks, They often build on top of open source tech, but add a lot more.
More like what?
Better user interfaces, extra features for security or governance integrations, and critically, enterprise-level support contracts. They aim for a more complete, polished solution, often for bigger companies with complex needs.
Okay, open source, managed cloud, enterprise. That helps frame it. But here's the tricky part. How on earth do you decide which way to go? It's obviously not one size fits all.
Absolutely not. And that's where the strategy comes in. It really truly hinges on your specific needs, your use case, budget, team skills, and maybe most importantly, where your business is right now and where it's heading.
What works today might be a disaster tomorrow.
Precisely. We'll see exactly that in a couple of scenarios.
Okay, can't wait. But before we jump into those real-world examples, which sound fascinating, just another quick word about DevTechie.
Good idea.
Seriously, in this world of data and cloud, things change so fast. Staying up to date is crucial. DevTechie has some really fantastic resources to help you learn, master new skills, and just understand modern engineering. Definitely worth checking them out.
Solid advice. Continuous learning is key.
All right, let's dive into scenario numero uno. Picture this. An e-commerce startup. They've just got their Series A funding. Doing okay, maybe 10,000 orders a day. They need real-time inventory updates, that kind of thing.
Okay, standard e-com setup.
Right, small engineering team, maybe 5, 8 people. But critically, a couple of them know Apache Kafka pretty well. Budget's tight. Reliable streaming is vital, but they need to watch the costs.
So they opt for open source Kafka.
Exactly. They figure, we know Kafka, we can manage the overhead, save some cash. Makes sense, right? Initially.
Initially, yes.
Yeah.
But I sense trouble brewing.
You guessed it. What happens? That classic good problem to have, hypergrowth. Suddenly, they're not doing 10K orders a day, they're doing 100K in like 3 months.
Wow. Okay, that Kafka cluster is probably starting to sweat.
Sweat. It's melting down. They hit a wall hard. You start seeing serious pain. Message lag gets crazy. Orders taking 30 seconds, maybe more, to actually show up.
Ouch. Customers won't like that.
Not at all. Then you get these Kafka consumer group rebalancing storms, basically. The system frantically tries to redistribute the load, causing temporary outages while it does. Disks can't keep up. Memory's under pressure.
The whole system is bottlenecked.
Totally. Network links on the servers get saturated. And the worst part, those engineers who were building features, now they're spending like 60% or more of their time just trying to keep Kafka alive, firefighting.
Yeah, that's a classic infrastructure death spiral. Instead of building value, you're just trying to keep the lights on.
Exactly. It's like your highway suddenly goes from 2 lanes to 10 lanes of traffic, but you didn't build any new lanes or exits. Gridlock. A nightmare scenario, but super common. So what are their options now in the middle of this crisis?
Okay, when you hit that wall, you've basically got 3 paths, maybe 3.5. Option 1, double down on open source Kafka.
Stick with it. Try to fix it.
Yeah. The upside, you keep control, maybe build deep expertise, potentially cheaper long-term. The huge downside, it takes serious engineering effort, distracts everyone during critical growth, risks major customer-facing outages, and you probably need to hire expensive Kafka specialists fast. It could take months to stabilize.
High risk, high effort. Okay, option 2.
Option 2, emergency migration to a managed cloud service. Think AWS, MSK, Confluent Cloud, something like that. This is probably the most common path in this situation.
Why is that?
Speed and stability. Yeah. You can often get a basic migration done and cut over traffic in maybe 4 or 6 weeks, then spend a couple of months optimizing. The cloud provider handles the scaling, the reliability. You engineers can get back to building the product. Costs become more predictable, even if higher.
Okay, sounds like the panic button option. What are the downsides?
Cost is the big one.
Sure.
Your bill could easily jump 3x, maybe 5x overnight. You might lose some specific customizations you built for Kafka, and, the vendor lock-in concern always comes up.
Right. And option 3?
A hybrid approach. This is more strategic, but way more complex, especially in a crisis. You might move the most critical overloaded parts to a managed service quickly, but keep less critical stuff on your self-managed Kafka for a while. It requires careful planning.
Okay, that makes sense. So in the real world, what do you typically see companies actually do when this happens? Is there a pattern?
Oh, absolutely. There's a very common pattern. Phase 1 is crisis mode. Hypergrowth hits. Kafka melts down. Panic sets in. They do that emergency migration to a managed service like AWS, MSK, stability returns, relief. But then the bill arrives. Maybe you went from $2Ks a month to $8K or $10.
Sticker shock.
Definitely. That leads to phase 2,
Huh?
optimization. Maybe a few months later, things are stable. They start analyzing the costs, tuning configurations on the managed service, maybe using reserved instances. Costs might stabilize, maybe even creep up a bit more as they really utilize it, say 12K a month.
Okay. Breathing room, but expensive. Then what?
Phase 3, the strategic decision. Often happens after the next funding round. Now they have more options. Maybe cost isn't the only factor. Do they stay managed because it lets them focus on the product? Do they hire a dedicated platform team and plan to eventually migrate back to open source but do it right this time? Or do they upgrade to a full enterprise platform like Console platform for more features?
Interesting. So it's often a multi-step journey.
Very much so. There's even a pattern some call the Stripe pattern, after how Stripe supposedly handled it. Start open source, learn the ropes, save money, hit hypergrowth, do the emergency migrate to managed for stability, get bigger, maybe graduate to an enterprise platform. Then, once you have a really mature platform team, maybe selectively bring the absolute most critical, highest volume stuff back in-house for cost and control.
Wow. So using all three at different stages, what about the economics? Is managed always way more expensive?
The sticker price is higher, yes, but think about that engineering time. If moving to managed frees up even half an engineer who was just firefighting Kafka, that engineer might cost, what, 150K, 200Ks a year? That's maybe $15 a month in saved salary and overhead right there. Suddenly, that $10K managed service bill looks like a net win, especially during that crucial growth phase.
That's a really important perspective. So for our listeners who might be on this path or see it coming, what are the key things they should do and absolutely shouldn't do?
Great question. Okay, do this. Monitor the leading indicators. Things like partition lag, consumer group lag. Don't wait for things to break.
Be proactive.
Exactly. Set up automatic alerting before you hit those limits. Have a migration plan at least sketched out before you're in crisis mode.
Yeah.
And critically, budget for 3x to 5x scaling costs in your financial models if hypergrowth is even a possibility.
Okay, plan ahead. What about the don'ts?
Don't do this. Don't wait until customers are complaining about slow orders or outages. That's too late. Don't try to perform a complex migration during your absolute peak season like Black Friday. That's asking for disaster.
Right, timing matters.
Hugely. Don't underestimate the complexity, time, and stress involved in migration, whether it's fixing Kafka or moving to managed. And please, don't make the decision based only on the initial sticker price. Look at the total cost, including engineering time and outage risk.
Got it. So what's the final word on this e-commerce scenario?
The bottom line, honestly. For most successful startups hitting hypergrowth, speed to stability trumps short-term cost optimization. Getting engineers focused back on the product usually drives way more value than saving a few $1,000s a month on infrastructure. A stable system helps you raise your next round. An unstable one kills momentum. The cost of major outages almost always outweighs the managed service fees. Fix it fast, optimize later.
That makes a ton of sense. That e-commerce example really hits home how fast things can shift and why these strategic choices are so critical.
Absolutely.
And, just like you need a clear plan for scaling your tech, you need a clear path for scaling your knowledge, which again is why we like pointing folks to DevTechie. They really help you build that expertise to anticipate these kinds of challenges. Super valuable.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, let's pivot to scenario 2. This one's different. Healthcare tech startup.
Okay. Now we add regulations into the mix.
Big time. So this team, maybe they're building a telehealth platform or something, handling patient data. They look at the options and decide to go with managed cloud solutions right from the start.
Okay. What's their reasoning?
Seems logical on the surface. They think, hey, the cloud provider has HIPAA certifications. That makes compliance easier. Plus, it integrates nicely with the cloud-based electronic medical record systems they need to talk to. And like many startups, they want to move fast, so managed services seem quicker to set up.
Okay, I see the logic, but I also see potential landlines everywhere.
Exactly. This is where that seemingly sensible choice can actually be a minefield. What's the better approach for healthcare tech?
For healthcare, you absolutely must start with a compliance-first architecture. It has to be baked in from day one. Forget standard managed services for sensitive data initially.
So what does that look like? Phase 1.
Phase 1, compliance-first architecture. You might start with specific healthcare-focused cloud offerings like AWS Healthcare Lake or similar. Crucially, you implement end-to-end encryption using customer-managed keys, not the default provider keys. That gives you control over access. You should use dedicated tenancy where possible, avoiding shared infrastructure for PHI. And you absolutely need to partner with a healthcare compliance expert or consultancy from day one. Don't wing it.
Okay, Much more deliberate. What's phase two?
Phase 2 often involves a hybrid approach, but a very carefully designed one. Critical patient data, the protected health information, or PHI, might live on-prem or in a dedicated hardened cloud environment. Maybe non-PHI data, like website analytics or operational metrics, could use standard managed streaming services. But you need ironclad data classification, strict routing rules, and regular third-party security audits.
So careful separation. And phase three.
Phase 3 is build your platform team early, with compliance expertise embedded. You should probably hire a dedicated healthcare IT compliance specialist by the time you have, say, 10 employees. Budget significantly more for compliance and security, maybe 20–30% of your engineering resources. And start planning for your own robust, compliant, potentially in-house streaming platform by the time you hit Series B funding. Your disaster recovery plans also need to meet specific healthcare data standards, which are often stricter.
Wow. That is a fundamentally different roadmap than the e-commerce startup. So let's talk about the nightmare. What goes catastrophically wrong if a healthcare startup doesn't do this? If they just use standard managed streaming for patient data, relying on the provider's BAA?
Oh, it can go wrong in so many ways. Let's call them the compliance and regulatory nightmares. First, that business associate agreement, the BAA from the cloud provider. It might not cover every specific way you're using the streaming service. Data sloshing between availability zones or regions for resilience might technically create copies that violate patient consent or state laws.
Subtle but deadly.
Exactly. Audit trails provided by the standard service might not be detailed enough for HIPAA requirements. And that shared responsibility model. It means you are still liable for configuring and using the service compliantly, even if the underlying infrastructure is certified.
So the certification isn't a magic shield.
Not at all. There was a real case, a telehealth startup, that used a standard managed Kafka service for streaming patient consultation data. An audit found their message logs weren't kept properly for HIPAA's 6-year rule. Their cross-region replication created data residency issues. They didn't have granular enough access controls for different types of PHI. The result?
Let me guess. Bad.
A $2.4 million HIPAA fine, and an 18-month remediation project that basically halted all new feature development. Crippling.
Okay, what else?
Data residency violations. Super common trap. Patient data from California gets processed or replicated to a server in Virginia, maybe just for backup or load balancing. If you don't have explicit consent for that transfer, boom, you've potentially violated California privacy law. We've seen insurance companies start denying claims from providers whose tech stack had compliance gaps like this.
The downstream effects are huge.
And then there's the scale economics breakdown. The simple pay-as-you-go model often breaks hard in healthcare. Why? Healthcare data per user can be way bigger. Think medical images, genomic data. Regulatory requirements like that 7-year retention mean you store vastly more data for longer, exponentially increasing costs. And peak loads, like during a pandemic surge. Utterly unpredictable. We saw examples where streaming costs went from maybe $200 a month in testing to $50,000 a month during a COVID surge, mostly driven by retention requirements.
That kind of jump could bankrupt a startup. So this leads to a pretty stark conclusion, doesn't it? What's the hard truth here?
The hard truth, and it is uncomfortable but vital, is this. Healthcare startups should almost never use standard multi-tenant managed streaming services for protected health information. Period.
Yes, don't do it.
The regulatory risk, the financial risk, the reputational risk, it's just too high. Use those managed services for non-PHI data. Sure, marketing analytics, system logs, fine, but for PHI, you need to invest early in that compliance-focused architecture, even if it feels slower initially. Budget 2x to 3x what you'd expect for normal infrastructure costs. Plan for specialized healthcare cloud services, or building compliance systems yourself.
And the final warning.
The move fast and break things mantra that works elsewhere. In healthcare, it can literally put patients at risk or kill your company with fines. It is far, far better to start slower, build it right with compliance baked in, than to face an existential crisis down the road.
That is crystal clear. And it powerfully illustrates that choosing a data streaming platform, it's way beyond just a technical choice. It's a fundamental strategic business bet.
Absolutely. Stepping back from the scenarios, there are a few key takeaways that apply broadly. First, as we saw, there's no universal best choice. Open source, managed, enterprise, they all serve different needs at different stages. What's right for Series A might sink you at Series D.
The context changes everything.
Exactly. Which leads to the second point. Context is everything. The healthcare example showed how industry rules, compliance regulations can completely override what seems like the best technical or cost decision. Risk tolerance matters hugely here.
And the third takeaway.
Scaling transitions are pretty much inevitable. Most successful companies will probably use all three types of platforms at different points in their journey. The winners are the ones who anticipate and plan for these transitions, rather than being forced into them reactively.
Okay, so knowing all that, how do you actually make the decision? If you're sitting down today trying to figure this out, what's the framework?
You need to evaluate it strategically. I'd suggest looking at 5 key factors. 1. Risk tolerance. What level of outage or compliance failure can your business actually survive?
Be honest about that.
Very honest. 2. Resource constraints. What's your real budget, not just for the tech subscription, but for the engineering time needed to manage it? 3. Growth trajectory. Where do you realistically expect to be in 12 or 18 months? Will this choice scale with you or paint you into a corner?
Look ahead.
Definitely. 4. Industry requirements. Are there regulations like HIPAA or specific data handling needs in your sector that limit your options or dictate certain choices? And 5. Team capabilities. What can your current team genuinely manage effectively without dropping the ball on other critical work?
That's a solid framework. Risk, resources, growth, rules, team. But you mentioned earlier, there's often an uncomfortable truth in these decisions.
Yeah, the uncomfortable truth is that sometimes the technically superior or cheapest option isn't the right business choice. That e-commerce startup. Maybe a super optimized custom Kafka setup is technically faster. But choosing a managed service, even if slightly slower or more expensive up front, might be the right business choice because it frees up engineers to focus on acquiring customers during that critical hypergrowth phase. That focus might be worth far more than the infrastructure savings.
Right, opportunity cost.
Exactly. And the healthcare startup. Saving money with a standard cloud service might seem smart financially, but the potential compliance failure could literally destroy the entire business. So prioritizing compliance, even at higher cost, is the only rational business choice. It's always about aligning the tech decision with the primary business objectives and risks at that moment.
That's crucial. Now, looking forward, you hear a lot about how the lines are blurring. Managed services offering more Kafka compatibility, open source tools getting easier to manage, enterprise platforms running in the cloud. What does that mean for making these choices in the future?
It's true. The ecosystem is definitely maturing and boundaries are blurring. You see managed services becoming more flexible, enterprise platforms offering consumption-based pricing,
Huh?
but the fundamental trade-offs, they're likely to persist. Cost versus control, simplicity versus flexibility, speed versus long-term ownership.
The core dilemmas remain.
I think so. The companies that will win, the ones who navigate this well, are those who consistently make decisions based on business outcomes, not just chasing the shiniest new tech. They plan for those platform transitions as part of their strategic roadmap. They invest in their team's capabilities, whether it's Kafka expertise or cloud management skills, and they stay pragmatic, willing to change direction if the initial choice isn't working or the business context shifts.
So the final thought for our listeners wrestling with this.
I'd say this. In data streaming, like most big tech decisions, the best choice is rarely absolute. It's the one that best aligns with your organization's reality today while keeping options open for tomorrow. So choose wisely based on that strategic framework, definitely plan for change, and remember, no platform decision is forever. But some mistakes are much more expensive and painful to undo than others.
Choose wisely, plan for change, and understand the cost of reversing course. That's a powerful note to end on. Thank you so much for breaking down such a complex topic today, really navigating the strategic side of data streaming.
My pleasure. It's a critical area.
Absolutely vital for anyone building with data today. And thank you, our listeners, for joining us. We hope this exploration helps you make more informed choices for your own projects. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep learning, keep growing.